next speaker, Mr. Asheesh Joshi. Yeah, please. He's Director BNR, Ministry of Petroleum.
So, good afternoon, everybody. So, as it has been told, I am the Director in the Ministry of Petroleum. And it is something that affects the life of almost everybody today. So, today I will be discussing about one of the initiatives that has been taken by the ministry in terms of biofuels. So, as most of the speakers must have told you, that energy is one of the most important aspects in our life. And it is interlinked with the growth trajectory of any country. But the problem with most of the energy that we use is it is grey in nature. That is, it is mostly fossil fuels. And that is compounded by the fact that in India, 85% of the crude oil is imported and 52% of the natural gas is imported. So that not only adds to our import budget, but also it is a fact that there are certain emissions that are there because of usage of those fossil fuels. And therefore, a number of steps and initiatives have been taken by the government to ensure that the emissions reduce. In fact, recently in the Glasgow summit, the Honorable Prime Minister announced the Panchamrit, in which it was stated that we will become net zero by 2070. And also, our emissions have to reduce by 1 billion by 2030. So a number of initiatives prior to that and following that have been taken with renewed focus on renewable energy, electric vehicles coming in. And one of the things that has emerged is the biofuels, which I'm going to deliberate upon today. So to promote biofuels, the government announced the National Biofuel Policy in 2018. Am I audible or not? So the government announced the National Biofuel Policy in 2018, which divided biofuels into two categories. One is the basic biofuel and the other one is the advanced biofuel. Now, basic biofuel is 1G technology, where you produce ethanol through sugar and starch. And the advanced biofuel consists of 2G ethanol production, where you are producing ethanol from bio-waste, agricultural waste and other derivatives. It also includes bio-CNG and other derivatives. And also 3G, which is in the R&D stage, where you produce ethanol by algae. So that policy also envisaged a target whereby 20% of blending of ethanol was required in petrol and 5% of blending of biodiesel and diesel by 2030. But looking at the efforts made by the government, it was decided to to advance the targets to 2025, 26, wherein it was desired that the 20% ethanol blending should be achieved by 2025, with the intermittent target that 10% of blending should be achieved by 22, 23, November. But as you must have all heard during the speech of the Honorable Prime Minister on the World Environment Day, we have already achieved a 10% blending much ahead of our target date, that is November 22. And that has translated into a forest impact of close to 41,000 crores, a reduction of greenhouse emissions by 2.7 million metric tons, and an expeditious payment to the farmers to a tune of close to 40,000 or 41,000 crores. The target further is to get 20% blending, which I'm quite sure that with the concerted and coordinated efforts of all the ministries, it is quite achievable. Once that is achieved, then on year-on-year basis, that would translate into a forest impact of 35,000 crores. Reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions by 2.1 million metric tons every year, and an expeditious payment to the farmers to a tune of 65,000 crores. So that is in itself a very big achievement. Also, if you see, when one biorefinery of capacity of 100 kiloliters per day is installed, that simply means there would be a capital investment of 800 to 1500 crores. And it also means that direct and indirect employment of close to 1,000 to 1,200 jobs would be created. To To ensure that the ethanol blending program is a success, the government has taken various initiatives. Those include expanding the scope of the feedstock, giving remunerative prices for the feedstock, reduction in GST from 18 to 5%, and also signing of long-term offtake agreements with the project proponents. And because of that, what we have seen in the past 8 years is that the ethanol blending has increased from 1.53% in 2013 and 14 to 10% right now, which translates from 38 crores liters in 2013-14 to 459, that is the estimated thing. So this is one of the interventions that I wanted to discuss. The other one that the biofuel policy envisages is the biodiesel. Now, biodiesel in India right now is mostly produced from palm stearin oil. Now, palm stearin oil is mostly imported. You must be knowing that 80% of that is imported. So to reduce the import dependence upon palm stearin oil, there has been a renewed focus on using used cooking oil, that is normally called as UCO, to produce biodiesel. Right now, it is estimated that close to 23 million metric tons of biodiesel of edible oil is used. Therefore, there has been initiative to develop supply chains by which that edible oil can be transported and converted into biodiesel. So this is another initiative in the biofuel category that has been taken by the government. The other initiative is regarding the bio ATF. Now, you must all be traveling by air. Right now, the fuel that is used is called the ATF, air turbine fuel. And as all of us are aware, the civil aviation industry accounts for 2.5% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, which itself is quite a big number. And India being a signatory to the ICO, that is the Indian Civil Aviation Organization, it is mandated that from 2027, the emissions, no additional emissions, have to be there, taking 2019-20 emissions as a base. So no additional emissions have to be there. So steps have to be taken in order to ensure that the ATF that we use is sustainable. And that's why it is called the sustainable aviation fuel. So certain steps have been taken by the government, where it has been directed that MRPL, that is the Mangalore Refinery Project Limited, is going to establish a bio-ATF plant. And also, IOCL is also contemplating setting up of 2 bio-ATF plants in India. So all these 3 will be having a capacity of close to 100 tons per day. Also, the government has set up a committee which will decide about the roadmap that has to be taken in order to ensure that sufficient supply of bio-ATF is there to cater to the needs of the aviation sector. One other sector that you must have all heard about is the compressed biogas, which is the bio-CNG. Now, it is having the same calorific value and properties similar to the CNG. Therefore, it can be used as an alternative. In fact, MORTH has already declared it as an alternative to the CNG. So the government has started a scheme called the SATAT in 2018, whereby it envisages establishing 5,000 CBG plant with a capacity of 15 million metric tons, which is equivalent to 19 BCM of gas. In order to achieve that, the government has been signing, the OMCs, particularly the oil marketing companies, have been signing long-term agreements with the project proponents. The RBI has declared lending for CBG plants in priority sector. So some of the initiatives I have talked about regarding biofuels. A little point about energy transition that you talked about. See, energy transition has to be contextual. It has to depend upon the growth trajectory, the energy trajectory, and the energy consumption of a country, both in terms of volume and in terms of per capita. So if you see energy, India is a growing economy, and its energy needs are humongous. But at the same time, one has to realize that the per capita consumption of India is just 1/3 of the world, 1/5 of China, and 1/12 of US. So our energy transition has to take this into account, and therefore, whatever energy needs are there, it has to be fulfilled with a combination of both conventional as well as unconventional fuels. So depending upon the context in India, both types of fuels would be available, both types of fuel would be used for a sustainable time to come. So with this, I will just stop here. Thank you.